My Hero Academia brings to life a world full of unique powers called quirks, but there's probably a lot of fun facts that you may have missed. Did you know that Bakugo's name actually contains the words bomb, which is baku in Japanese, which explains his quirk explosion? His first name Katsuki comes from the words wind and self, which really gives you an idea of what kind of character he is. Also, did you know that when two different quirk users have a child together, the child may inherit a quirk that's a combination of these two different quirks? A perfect example is Todoroki Shoto, with his half-cold, half-hot quirk, which allows him to control fire and ice at will. But a lesser-known example we'd like to mention is Bakugo. His father Masaru has the quirk Acid Sweat, which means he's able to produce acidic sweat that can explode if he rubs his hands, but he cannot secrete it at will. Meanwhile, his mother Mitsuki can secrete a moisturizing smooth liquid from her skin using her quirk Glycerin, keeping it looking young and supple. Combined, Bakugo can make explosions at will, without the need to rub his hands together, essentially just shooting them out of his hands. As we know in the anime and the manga, he's come a long way from just simply making explosions, developing his quirk to create a lot of techniques as he progresses throughout the story. Momo Yaoyorozu, the class vice president, is quite the character with a serious personality, but it doesn't get in the way of her having fun with her friends. With her quirk, she's able to create any non-living material or object from the fat cells in her body. Her first creation? Matryoshka dolls. The author notes that these are the first objects that she could make perfectly when she was training her quirk as a young child. It's safe to say these dolls have a special place in her heart. Another interesting character that we can't pass up is Mina Ashido. Her last name is basically pronounced the same as how you would pronounce acid in Japanese. What's even more interesting is the name that she picked for herself when Class 1A was picking out their hero names. She first came up with the name Ridley Hero Alien Queen, which is a reference to the main character of the Alien film franchise main character, Ellen Ripley. You know, the aliens in the franchise. They're also a direct reference to her quirk Acid, as they're able to melt through solid metal with their acidic blood, except Mina releases it from her hands. And did we forget to mention that she's also got some sick dance moves as well? The author has also created other works before this manga, namely the one-shot titled My Hero that serves as the basis for the My Hero Academia we know and love today. In the one-shot, we see our main character Jack Midoriya as a salaryman. He's weak and quite frail, a bit like how All Might is right now, after his swan song ultimate move, the United States of Smash. Regardless, Jack still has the heart of a hero, willing to sacrifice himself to help other people. It's really interesting how the author splits this character into the lovable teacher-student duo of the main series. Speaking of Izuku, did you know that his nickname of Deku actually means something rather degrading? Bakugo gave him this nickname during their childhood together. Deku can mean a wooden figure or a puppet, and is used to refer to someone who's useless and unable to achieve anything. This is exactly how Bakugo saw Izuku. He thought himself to be far above him and treated the people around him like trash. However, as cruel as that may be, the always optimistic Uraraka Ochaco knows how to turn things around. Instead of the initial meaning given to it by Bakugo, she thought the nickname was actually inspiring, giving off the feeling of I can do it, which comes from how similar the word is to the Japanese word of being able to do something, which is dekiru. How precious. It's interesting to note, though, that both Uraraka and Bakugo actually have the same costume designer. That's why if you pay close attention, you can see two dots on their costumes, aligned vertically on her chest for Uraraka and diagonally on the left chest for Bakugo. Speaking of Uraraka, she's actually a bit old-fashioned. Instead of a smartphone, which everyone else has, she has her own cute little pink flip phone. It's likely due to the fact that she isn't able to afford a smartphone. Bakugo's friend, Denki Kaminari, has the ability to release electricity from his body. And in case you missed it, his first and last name both have meanings that relate to his electricity quirk. Fans have lovingly called him Pikachu due to the nature of his quirk. However, there's actually a side effect that happens when he overuses this quirk of his. It ends up short-circuiting his brain, and for a whole hour, he's stuck in a vulnerable state, in which he really can't think for himself, smiling mindlessly while sometimes giving two thumbs up. We find it funny that the face he makes is actually quite similar to the main character from One Punch Man, Saitama. The expression he makes and the way it is drawn really resembles Saitama when he's not being serious and just joking around. But did you know that Denki was actually born in the Saitama prefecture in Japan? At this point, Denki's a direct reference to him. Each character's name usually has hidden meaning that give a clue to what quirk they might possess. However, there's an interesting pattern for the users of the quirk One for All. Each user's name contains a reference to the order of their inheritance. For example, Yoichi, the first user, has a kanji ichi in his name, which means the number 1. All Might's real name, Toshinori Yagi, has Ya, which means the number 8, and signifies his spot as the 8th user of One for All. Along with these, all the other users follow the same pattern, although we still don't know the names for the 2nd and 3rd users. The UA motto, Plus Ultra, is actually a hidden phrase in Latin, which means further beyond, and it also happens to be the national motto of Spain. Aizawa Shota, Classroom 1A's homeroom teacher, is a cold and ruthless teacher who's not afraid to expel the whole class if they do something wrong. However, he does have a soft spot for his students every once in a while. With his quirk Eraser, he's able to erase other people's quirks as long as he stares at them. He usually uses this quirk together with his goggles. Now, did you know that these goggles did not originally belong to him? Instead, they were given to him during the time he was a UA student by Shirakumo Oboro, his good friend. If you read the spin-off Vigilantes manga, you'll know who we're talking about. Present Mike is another teacher at UA and Aizawa's good friend. He takes down opponents with his extra loud voice and has the personality to go along with it. This wasn't always the case though, as the author, Horikoshi actually meant for him to be a boring guy who would only do announcements. It's a good thing we ended up with the character we know now. I mean, can you imagine him being all boring and unenergetic? We wouldn't get the hilarious dynamic between him and Aizawa. And did you notice that he actually announces each new quirk that pops up in the series? You know, that brief explanation on what each quirk does so we can all understand what we're dealing with. UA High School has actually got a fair share of heroes that look kinda scary in a way. Ectoplasm is a pro hero who teaches math at the school. His quirk, Ectoplasm, allows him to make clones of himself, kind of like Twice from the League of Villains. However, he does have a limit of being able to only make 30 clones a day. Furthermore, he has the ability to make a single giant clone of himself by combining all of his clones together. And did you notice his legs? He actually lost both of them during his work as a hero, and has had to wear prosthetics as a result since then. Gang Orca, another instructor who's got quite a mean look. This comes from his quirk that gives him the abilities and the appearance of a killer whale. Check out his hero outfit though. If you pay close attention, the tie he wears actually resembles a really long tongue being stuck out for a doctor's oral exam, and his collars actually have a pattern that looks like sharp teeth. It makes him look extra scary, like he's about to eat someone alive. This comes as no surprise, since he actually ranks 3rd in heroes that look like villains. A bit of a weird ranking to have, but hey, fair enough. Pro Hero 13 is a hero that focuses more on rescuing civilians from danger. We first see 13 during the USJ arc, where Class 1A learns about rescuing people in various situations. We don't see who's behind the mask until later chapters, where we find out that she's actually a lady with short hair when she removes the helmet of her costume. The name 13 might be a reference to the popular space program Apollo 13, but what's more interesting is the fact that she was introduced in chapter 13, page 13 of the manga. Now, that's a lot of 13s. Moving on to the villains, there are multiple moments where we see Tamura Shigaraki is actually quite a bit of a gamer. In multiple lines, we hear him make references to games like saying game over when the situation gets tough for him. In later chapters, we even find out in one of his interactions with Spinner that he actually likes League of Legends. He also mentions always playing it solo. This might be his inspiration for naming his team the League of Villains. A deep and ideology-driven character, Stain, the hero killer, might be inspired by anti-heroes of the 90s, such as Marvel's The Punisher. It may explain his whole obsession with ideology, as these anti-heroes might generally seek to achieve a single goal by any means necessary. Similar to how Stain wants to create a hero society of only true heroes, as he calls it. His outfit also somewhat resembles Spawn, with his mainly black costume and a long red scarf that matches Spawn's cape. Both of them really help in giving him a terrifying look, worthy of the title Hero Killer. There are so many fun facts in the world of My Hero Academia, but what do you think? Is there anything we missed?